Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Kachmar, and this is
Put the camera on you, guys.
lifeguarding. This is lifeguards off duty with Dr. Michael Kachmar. How's everyone doing today?
We're still working it out.
We're still working it out. Today is we'll get there. Today is October 26th, year of our Lord 2021.
Year of our Lord.
And so this is we're broadcasting from beautiful Toms River, New Jersey. And this is another one of our episodes. This is right now live on YouTube and Facebook and going out there into cyberspace. So today in the studio, I just want to introduce everybody. We have Sean, who's working the computer right now.
Hello.
Hello, Sean. And he's got his SHBP shirt on. Let me go back to me. I got my today's lifeguard. We got our stuff on so everybody can see my shirt there. And then we have Tyler.
Yeah, I had a cool sweatshirt on, but there was a coffee stain on it. So
Nobody would have seen it. But you got Blaine Avenue. You got Blaine Avenue behind you. We love Blaine Avenue. That's one of our streets in Seaside. See, welcome. I love that sign. So welcome everyone to our show today. And we've been trying to reach out to other beach patrols. And if you watch us, like us, subscribe to us, give the word out. This is a lifeguard news station. I think it's probably one of the only ones out there. And we like to get more people. We want to bring on guests. We encourage people if they want to call in or contact us. Right now we have a web page. Can you put the web page up? Email.
you can also comment live during the show.
Right. You can comment to us. Right. So we'll just put it up right now. So if anybody wants to contact us to come on the show, this is the email. And it's Dr. Cat for the podcast people. It's Dr. Kachmar at iCloud.com.
DrKachmar at iCloud.com.
Right. And you send us an email. We can send you a link. You come on a show. Obviously, we want lifeguards, but anybody, surfers, anybody who does, I shouldn't say that. We take anybody who's in our field.
Anybody that wants to come on, we'll have you on.
We don't have any retro baits.
No retro baits.
No retro baits. But we'll take people who come on. We really want stories about life saving and your special stories. I mean, I have 100 stories. I'm very sure everybody else around the world has stories about rescues they made or very interesting scenarios, and we'd love to hear that. And we want to push that out to everybody and get comments going on. So that's our goal. So I'm going to throw it over to these guys. And I have a couple things we want to talk about today. And one of them is drunken patrons on our beach. You know, we have people that we deal with.
Yeah, we have a video we want to show you to.
Okay, you want to do
start
that?
Off that discussion.
Yeah, want to try it?
So let me just get the beginning of this. So, we deal with some of the worst rescues I've ever had are drunks, people who are intoxicated and probably high on drugs. Alcohol and water don't mix. People go down pretty quick, and
alcohol, salt water, and sun don't really mix.
Yeah. And some of the worst rescues I've had are people who are drunk. And I just remember a couple of years ago, I had this one guy. He spoke no English, and I don't know what nationality he was, but he was drowning. And I got him, and I brought him in, and he was stinking drunk. He was happy, smiling, and everything. We went back to his blanket. His family was there. Everybody was drinking. Everybody was drunk. And we try to explain to these people that, you can't go in the water when you're that drunk. It's tough. And they seem to go down real quick. So what do you have for us? Let's, Sean, what do you have? What video do you have for us?
We got a video for you, Kachmar.
Oh, is it a video of lifeguards with drunks, or is it just
a video of drunks on the beach? Isn't that the topic of the day?
So yeah, let's check it out. See
this corresponds with a very special time for the Seaside Heights Beach Patrol.
Yeah,
that we'd like to hear more from you on, because we weren't around during that time.
All right, here it is. Let's take it out.
Do you know about this, Kachmar?
Let's make this a little louder. Let me see. Hang on. There we go. Oh, this is our beach. This is
us.
This is MT. Oh, this is the Schnooky. I was there. So listen, I was there to stay.
This day?
Yeah, I was here to stay. I was on the North End headquarters when this happened. What happened? You lost it when she got drunk, you mean?
Yeah, it's a short video.
Yeah.
What went down that day?
So whoa. Is this still a thing?
I don't know. No, it's not.
Fine. Okay, so that was a snapshot of Snooki. If people don't remember, so what was that? That was the Jersey Shore. What was it called?
The Jersey Shore.
I think just Jersey
Shore.
Yeah.
That was world famous, and that made us famous. That was our beach. That was Seaside Heights. So they had their beach house right next to our North End headquarters, so we could see them, right? And they had up top, they had a jacuzzi and outside thing. So what happened that day, we knew it was going to happen. They was all scripted. Everything's planned out. People think this stuff is, has happens serendipitously. It didn't. So we all knew it was going to happen. So
wait. So who told you this was going to, they came up to you and they said,
Snooki's going to be
no, nobody came up. We knew about it. The police, the police have security. They had, see what happened is they had the town police, then they had their own security. And because, security was a hot issue, and they, through our superiors, we were told that they were going to come on the beach. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. They didn't say that, Schnicki would be drunk and get arrested, but they said they were going to have a planned shoot on the beach.
So you guys were being notified every time they were going
to yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot.
Were lifeguards filling out like,
no, we had a blanket. We had a blanket release. Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, there was times where I was leaving because I'm a physician. I was at North End. I'd shower up like I do, and I had my scrubs on, and I would be there, and they would come out, and the cameras were all around. I was right there. The guy's right next to me, and I wasn't even in the film.
But you knew they were going to be on the beach the day that she was.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, we knew that. So we and what happened is she comes out. She goes on the beach. She yells at some people on the beach. They're like, "Hey," and then they lock her up. It was that quick. It was real quick and sweet, and that was the end of it.
So, like, what kind of problems did the filming of the show cause for the beach patrol?
Well,
there's been a lot of people going at that time, especially Seaside Heights.
Yeah. So the North End is our we have two ends, South End and North End, and they're separated by a pier. And the pier, the North End is usually a little bit quieter than the South End, but when
local.
Yeah, more local. There's more people who live there, and the South End is more day trippers. So what happened though is with when MTV was there, that part of the beach, the North End, was actually, there's days during the week it was more crowded than more people than the South End. So from that perspective, we're more busy. But a lot of people say, "Oh, it was a bad crowd." I thought the people that came down were very nice. We definitely got different people. We got more, we got a lot of people who probably would never have come to Seaside Heights because of the distance, but they wanted to see, these famous people, and they actually would show up in the morning, and because they would let these people, go be involved, like whatever they were doing, they would have. They would also have some, concerts and stuff like that. So I call it cattle call. They would have girls in the morning come down, and they would be involved in some of the stuff on the beach. So I don't think it was a bad crowd. I think we got a lot more people. I think a lot of people made a lot of money in town. But I'll go back and tell you, when they first came, we had MTV House twice in Seaside Heights. Twice.
Yeah, Will Smith, like,
iconic picture of Will Smith. Yeah. Can you pull that up, Sean?
Yeah. So the first time, this is how, the first time they were there, right? They were unknown. Nobody, I didn't, they were, MTV was, well, I knew MTV because of, the videos, but I'm at the headquarters, right? And I remember him coming off the boat. I remember him doing,
rapping the Men in Black song.
Yeah. I watched the rehearsal on that. So they came. I saw this. I was there when they brought him in on that boat. I watched that. I was like, I thought for sure that was going to turn out to be a bad deal. Thank God the ocean.
So it's for people who can't see right now, explain like what they did there.
Well, let me go back with the MTV. Okay. So the first year, right, I'm sitting at the South End, North End headquarters, which was a little tiny headquarters. It was still the old one. And there's a guy sitting there, and he's with the crew with MTV. And they say he's one of the VJs. Okay. Now, I don't know what VJs. That's they call them VJs. Because this was video. MTV was video.
Jockey.
So he's a VJ, right? And his name was I'm going to kill it right now. Time Daily. What was he?
Carson Daly?
Carson Daly, yeah, excuse me.
So what was that show? TRL, right?
It was MTV, and he was one of the first, individuals who hosted it, and he was an unknown at that time. He was sitting there, and he wanted to know, hey, I'd go out and get coffee. I say, hey, you want a coffee? He'd just be hanging on, and I remember asking, hey, where can I go get dinner and stuff like that, So So then it got really crazy. And then the next time they had it, they took another venue, and I think they were there 3 times because because you know what? Think of it. They took our headquarters over once, and then they also had another house on the boardwalk. But I remember when they took our headquarters over, the town made us another temporary headquarters. It was up on stilts. It was a real high tower.
Wow.
Yeah, and we had that. And you see, you guys don't even know that, right? You never know that. So we had this thing on stilts. And so the day they had Will Smith coming in, they had more celebrities than that. They would have the thing called the burn. So what they would do is they'd have this cattle call. So they would have all these people come in the morning, and they picked people out of the crowd, and then they would have them at the MTV house, and then they would have celebrities come in and do what's called the burn, like a workout. You know, and famous rappers, and it was so many people there. It was really pretty neat. And then what they did is they later on they had this concert, and Will Smith was the headliner, and the idea was they were going to bring him in on a boat. So he came down on a big boat, like a cabin cruise or whatever, some kind of yacht, and then they transferred him to the dinghy, and they brought him to the beach on the dinghy. Now, if you guys know, it's a rib. It's called the rib. When the water's nasty and everything, that could be a real, bad deal. It just so happened it was so nice. He came in, he had a suit on, and then and they had professional dancers, and they did they rehearsed the Men in Black song. That was that was pretty wild, man. Because I go to Broadway plays, and when you see people who really are pros, you're like, wow. I mean, the dancers he had, were unbelievable, and he's really an unbelievable entertainer. So it was pretty good. And that was when that Men in Black and Miami and all of that was happening. So I'm trying to think what year that was. Anybody remember what year that was?
No idea.
That was way before our time.
It definitely 2000s.
I think no, it was
90s.
90s. Yeah, I think it was 90s. Maybe right around 2000.
Look up when Men
It
in Black
might have been like 99, 2000. You're right. It might
1997. First Men in Black.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
so, I was pretty close. Because I remember
right at the turn of the millennium.
I was born in 97.
Yeah, what was it?
I was born in 97.
Yeah, you guys said so. It's so funny because if I talk about this, and like to me, it's like common knowledge. I forget you guys weren't even born yet. So getting back with the the MTV, and did it impact the town? It definitely impacted our Seaside Heights. We had bigger crowds. We had, I don't want to say younger crowds, but we definitely had more people from the cities because they were coming down. And I think you had people who would fly in, from visit New York City, which is one of the most visited cities in the world, and then make a special trip to go to Seaside because of MTV or because of the, Jersey Shore crowd, Snooki and all that. And they would never do that.
And the year before, the Nelk Boys made a visit to Seaside Heights.
Oh,
they
that
shut
was
down
so
the town
crazy.
for a weekend. Did you hear about that?
Who was that? Who's the? Oh, yeah.
They're like they're like these.
Yeah, talk about it. Yeah,
they're like these prank kids.
Yeah,
they're from Canada, and they just like have a lot of videos of them like chugging beer and like doing pranks out in public, and they came to Seaside Heights.
They rented out the Jersey Shore house.
Yeah, they rented out the Jersey Shore house. There was like 50,000 like 16-year-old kids just flooded the town.
We were driving in the streets that day just to see what was happening, and literally people 2 or 3 feet from your car, hordes like the entire way of the boardwalk, which is about a mile long, just like young 10 to 16-year-old kids, maybe 18.
Yeah, and what was interesting about that, and I remember that, I wasn't there that day, but we worked that weekend. It was a busy weekend. And that was either a Monday, that happened on a Monday or Tuesday. In other words, it was a dead day, off day. It was still in the summer, but it wasn't the weekend. And you're right. It's amazing how powerful the internet is.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know where all these kids came from, but yeah, I don't know how many. And actually, the police were caught with nobody knew this. I mean, I guess nobody was really monitoring the internet. And to see that now I think they're starting to do it, but that was a crazy day, but the police were overwhelmed. I think did they cause any damage? Do you remember?
Nah, they were pretty good. They had like a car meetup.
Yeah, I don't think there was damage. And now that I'm like thinking about it more, I think they were like releasing their merchandise or something that like it was a huge buildup, and it did take the town by surprise.
Yeah.
How many people showed up?
Yeah. Well, I remember. The good and bad. They had a concert, so they had one of those rave concerts.
Oh yeah,
and I knew this was going to be a bad idea.
That was my rookie year.
What was it called? Electric
Adventure.
There
were like over a dozen overdoses.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm sorry. Again.
Wow.
That was just like, that's insane.
Yes. So what happened that day? So they cordoned off the beach and they had the big stage. You know, we still have a stage there now. So we have concerts on our beach. People don't know. And so, and what, it was mostly all young kids, and everybody I think was stoned out of their mind on ecstasy. You know,
Glitter everywhere.
yeah. What are they doing? They were doing crystal meth, right?
No, it was
well, ecstasy,
Molly,
Molly,
which is like pure ecstasy.
yeah. So, and people were they had, like you said, they had ambulance. So many of them just lined up. They ran out of ambulance. They couldn't get enough people to the hospital. They started just telling people, "Hey, take them to the hospital." The hospitals were overrun. It was obviously, you know, it was a big fiasco.
That was a weird scene.
Yeah, and I remember we had our beach. Remember so our beach was closed off, and there was gates, you know, because they had to pay to get into this thing. And we watched this one guy came on the beach, who was stoned out of his mind. He came he was on the wrong side of the fence, and he came onto where, you know, we had our, you know, lifeguard.
Yeah,
on
the
the
real
beach.
beaching.
And I went up to him. I go, "Hey, yo, you're in the wrong place." He's like, "Hey, what?" Like, we had to just point him back. You know, it was bad. People were really, you know, intoxicated. But
Well, and then you hold that up to the concert we had the following summer, the Mumford and Sons.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Gentlemen of the Road tour, and that was just like the perfect example of how to do a concert.
There weren't gentlemen going on the electric adventure.
No, not at all.
No.
I think that's one of the cool things about Seaside Heights, though, and working there is you get to see like these awesome events. You know.
All right, so let's talk about another concert. So I'll go back, and our captain, Rob Connors of today, he was a rookie. We give it. So this is 90. I want to say maybe 93. Trying to think one. So in the 90s, early 90s. So here it is. The town wants to have a concert. Now you got to remember the founding fathers. We used to use the word square, but they were, you know, they're just, you know, they don't know. They contracted a radio station up North Jersey. They thought they were doing a good job. You know, they wanted to get people from North Jersey. But what they didn't realize, it was a gangster, mostly, I guess you'd say, you know, Hispanic, Puerto Rican, whatever, you know, gangster rap station. Okay, that's who they hired. And and the bands they had, the one band, the headliner was called Two Men Without Hats. That was something like the Two Men Without. So that was, so we could premise this. So I'm running the boardwalk. I get in early before, you know, the beach opens up. It was in August. It was really hot, and I'm running probably 7:30 in the morning, because we open up the beach around, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I'm running down the boardwalk, and the first thing I see is a lot of guys like hanging around, and they got hoods on, you know, and they got them, and it's just, they, you know, I mean, they look weird. Like, what are they doing here? You know? So, and then I started seeing the graffiti all over the, like, you know, the buildings, you know, people spray paint. And then I started to realize, and so they set up so it just built that day. They set up the stage, and it's just the crowds got bigger and bigger and bigger. And they were, I mean, it was just a ton of gang members, you know. It's like, and when the music stopped, we had like, everybody went in the water, and we had like tons of rescues. So I was on the stand. I was the loose can. So I was the head man. I did the rescues, and I had Rob Connors.
So this is a daytime concert.
Okay. Right. So I would make make the initial rescue. Rob Connors and I had another guy sitting with me, Joe Valente, and they would take turns taking the rope out. So, you know, so we did that. I don't know how many rescues we had that day, you know, 7, 8, 9, you know, it was a lot. And then at the end of the day, we were, you know, getting ready to get out of there, and the crowd was getting really kind of like, you know, it was little fights here and there. So I left the stand, and I told Rob, I said, you know, just don't get in any trouble. So we didn't have ATVs back then, so I had to walk from all the way, and you can't understand people on the radio or on the podcast, but about, I don't know, 3/4 mile. I had to go from Franklin to the headquarters, which was Sumner. Pretty far walk. And before I got to the headquarters, a fight broke out, and it wasn't us, you know, starting it. Lifeguards. What happened was some guy, you know, long-haired got in a shuffle with somebody's, other, and it was a big brawl. We went in there, we tried to break it up, and they surrounded us. And I remember, and people, I'm not making this up, so it's not, they surrounded us and they started going, do them. And this, this, I don't know if it was a guy, he goes, it's like right out of a movie, like kind of like a heavy accent, like it's like right out of Cheech and Chong. He goes, they're going to stab you, man. He goes, and I look at the guys, I go, shit. I said, well, maybe we could run for the water. And I really, what I did is I
just start swimming.
No. I said, hey, listen, I yelled at it. I go, listen, we saved your lives. We were here for you guys all day long. We're not the enemy. I really yelled it out. I mean, there was thousands. I mean, there was people on the boardwalk. I mean, they were ready. They're ready to kill us. I mean, and all of a sudden the captain, it's like right out of Clint Eastwood or one of his movies. Al Ayers is the captain. He comes with the mule, like going 100 miles an hour. People are jumping out of the way and everything. We all jump on the mule.
Get in.
He takes off.
Get in if you want to live.
And just took off, man. We got out of there. I mean, they had mutual aid. They had, they had fights that night, stabbings. It got out of hand. I mean, it was crazy.
Dude, those situations get scary when like you're on your own, like dealing with a family on the beach, and they start getting all hot-headed. Like,
oh yeah,
that's very sketchy.
Yeah. So that was our concept. But to answer the initial question that you asked about MTV and all of that, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. I thought it was a positive thing. A lot of people thought it wasn't. They thought it was a bad crowd. I didn't think so.
Brought a lot of people to the beach. That's all you can ask for.
And they were nice people. They weren't nasty people or anything like that. So
Camp Strip was really good for the beach town stores, just like making money. Like there's people, everyone there just so busy.
Well, I remember there's a place called Karma. Maybe people who are listening. So it was one of the bars there. It was Bamboo and Karma. Karma had lines of people around waiting to get in there, and it was the most beautiful people because everybody wanted to be
able to get in.
Well, they wanted to get in, but they wanted to be recognized, or maybe they're going to be a movie star. They might be picked up.
Get on camera.
Right. So they would have, the guy who owned the place he had parking spots out front he would say Bentleys. and you would have baseball players coming down. They had private rooms up top. I mean, I heard stories. There was bar tabs, 50,000, 75,000, stuff like that. And there was the prettiest people in the world, both men and women. Everybody was dressed up. I mean, you had to fight to get in there because, like I said, they were hoping to be, the new movie star.
Yeah, that Bentley thing where you need a Bentley or like an expensive car to just park outside. Yes, fine. It makes sense though, because the MTV driving by or recording by, seeing it.
Yeah. Everybody wanted to be discovered, and that was another thing was planned. And I tell people what they did is they would come in. It was an interesting thing. If you remember MTV House, and Jersey Shore people, they would have downstairs. They would have people with monitors, and they would monitor every camera.
Every little hidden camera.
And they had the cameras on every one of the people in the show, and they'd be up in the crowd moving around. They'd have some fights every once in a while. I'm telling you, it was all planned. You couldn't be on camera without signing a release. So, and I don't know how spontaneous, but it didn't look like spontaneous to me. But everything was videoed, and people downstairs would watch the video and probably talk on the intercom saying, "Hey, you got to move this way, move that way, get them out of the scene." And but that place was crazy. And
tell Ronnie that guy's checking his girl out, something like that.
What was that?
Yeah. Poking the bear, trying to get some drama.
Yeah. But I remember one of the owners of the bars telling me he did a commercial. They paid him like $30,000 to do a commercial in the bathroom. I don't know what it was for. Nothing. I don't know anything nasty, but just to do it in the bar there. So you got to remember that was pretty famous. That was one of the biggest shows on TV. I
remember when it came out, I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, and people were like mad about it. They're like, this isn't what Jersey's about. And then I remember watching the show, and I was like, this is awesome. I was so entertained.
Yeah. Well, my nieces, they live in Texas, right? So they watched it, and they were younger, and they finally came to Seaside to visit me, and that's what they wanted to do. They had to go.
They got to see the Jersey Shore house.
Yeah, I have family that lives up North Jersey, but don't get to come here that often. And every time they were down, it was just like, we have to go to the boardwalk.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, they'd see and they go, oh, it's so much smaller than it looks, you know, and that's another thing, you know, the what TV does, I mean, it sensationalizes everything, makes everything look so big and wonderful. So yeah, that was pretty wild. Yeah, people.
Our senior guards have told me some hilarious stories about, like you were talking about the North End and how you can kind of see on top of the Jersey Shore house from like the boardwalk side of our North End headquarters.
Yeah, upstairs you could see right across.
You could see like
upstairs,
right where like their
right.
hot tub and everything was. So one of my senior guards, Mike Fay, would tell me this story about how him and his buddies would stand out on like the little balcony on the back of our headquarters, and if a lot of people were walking down on the boardwalk, they'd point over to the house and be like, "Oh my God, like the cast is up there," and like everyone would like flock down. And, like,
yeah.
And there'd be no one.
Yeah,
No one up on that
yeah.
cast.
I gotta say, I met them, you know, and you know, they'd be because they're always around. And what was the one, J-Lo?
Wow.
She was friggin' hot, man. I gotta say, she was. You know, when you stand next to these people, but you know,
her ex-husband has a podcast with Frankie Edgar.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Really?
what's that called?
I think it's called The Tramp and the Champ or The Champ and the Tramp.
Yes. It's
yeah.
either one of those.
Yeah.
Maybe we could talk to Frankie.
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah,
cool.
you know,
UFC.
I never heard anything bad about them. You know, to me, before they became famous, they were walking around. I mean, I think MTV, you know, was really great for that town. I mean, I thought they were a A1 production. You know, and again, I didn't see you know, maybe the cast would say something different, but they had, you know, the police were there. They had their own security. I never really saw anything really bad. I thought it was a very, very positive thing. I wish it would have kept on going. But like you said, a lot of people, you know, bashed it. And you know, oh, I don't want that. You know, what did you hear? What did you hear about these?
Just that
I was really young at the time too, but everyone I know liked the Jersey Shore show, though definitely some people did not like what they were doing. Like they really
Maybe what they promoted.
yeah,
like a lot of people from Jersey don't like, everyone thinks that we're all like from Newark and like super aggro aggressive Italians. And that show just
or the Sopranos even did that a little bit too.
That show just does nothing but perpetuate those stereotypes.
Yeah.
That's why people don't like it. But
Okay.
I'm like a shore kid, you know, I grew up out here. We all know that that's not us. And a lot of local people were annoyed for that reason too. But it's entertainment, you know, and again, it was only good for the town. People still come to this town or to still go to Seaside Heights to like see that house.
Oh yeah. When we drive by, we see people taking pictures all the time.
And then they go to visit Karma, and there's just weeds growing out of the floor.
Yeah. Karma's done. It's
They
closed
shut that
up.
down.
Yeah, they shut it down. So let's keep with our theme. You know, drunks and so on our beach we don't let we have a policy no alcohol on the beach, but people sneaking on. And so the reason why we don't allow alcohol on the beach is because when people are drunk, number one, they get aggressive a lot of times. They want to fight. And even if they're not drunk, say they're high on drugs, they tend to drown, you know. I mean, they can't really swim well. So over the years, we've realized, you know, we've had some really bad rescues, and the rescues are really bad because these people are intoxicated. But let's just step back and say what people do to get the booze on the beach. And this is a topic that I think is really worth. So we have beach control. Right. They get creative. So we have a beach control people who work the gates, and you got to pay to get on, and then they check your stuff, you know, your cooler, your backpack, and if they have any booze, they'll tell you you can't. If you have any booze, you can't take it on the beach. And so it's pretty funny. But you'll see people get creative. So what they'll do, it was not last year, the year before that. So what the family did is they had children with them, and they had this one kid. He was probably about 6, 7 years old, and they had a big gallon bottle of something, I don't know, some booze, and they put it in his knapsack, and the kid's walking down the ramp. Now we have cameras all over the place. We could watch, you know, we have safety cameras, and we could see everything. We could zoom in. So we're watching this kid, and we videotaped. His backpack is so heavy, it's like hanging down past his butt, and it's obvious it's a bottle of booze.
Yeah.
What have you guys seen? Like some?
You told me a good story one time about you knew a family was drunk or drinking, and you couldn't figure out where it was, and like you might have searched them beforehand or something, and you just had to let it go because you couldn't catch them, but you knew they were drinking, and you asked at the end of the day what they were doing, and they filled up their water gallons with vodka.
Like
Like
straight
plastic.
vodka.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what some people do now, what we found out is over the years is they actually come on the beach early and they bury their shit in the sand.
Wow.
Right. So they'll bury like the booze.
People do that for concerts all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing is, what they'll do is they'll smart people will take the booze and mix, put in
Don't get any
like,
ideas.
like a cooler, and if they mix it with vodka and orange juice, I mean, what am I going to do? Taste it?
You're giving these people a guide.
Nah,
Listen. These are
the ones we know about already.
They know. But here, listen to this one. So I'm driving one day, and I'm not making stuff about booze, but it's a great. I'm driving, and I come across this group of people, and when we see solo cups, red solo cups, this is a spoiler alert for everybody. We know you're drinking booze. If you got solo cups on the beach, most likely you're drinking. And, again, I'm not going to, if you're not being a jerk and you're not, yelling and screaming and dragging everybody in the water, I mean, we're not going to give you a hard time. I mean, especially if it's a couple, but when it gets rowdy, that's when we get a little bit upset and you get out of hand. We're going to call the police. But I go down and there's this whole group of people and they got solo cups, but they got the cans of beer in the solo cups. In other words, instead of taking the beer out and pouring it into the solo cup, they take the beer can, open it up, and put the beer can in the solo cup.
Did you call him a retrobait?
What, a retrobait?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, like, what are you trying to hide? I always love. See, you guys don't see it that often anymore, but I still see it once in a while. I saw it this summer. People will have booze and they put it in brown paper bags. Mm-hmm. And so I was driving down and there was a guy drinking. Oh no, we pulled the one guy out of the water, and then we went to the blanket, and his other friends, they had the brown paper bags, bottles, and they were drinking it like they're trying to hide it,
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny, but people will do crazy things to get the booze on the beach. A lot of them will throw the stuff over. We watch that, they'll
all the time.
Yeah, they'll throw they'll come on the beach with all their coolers, and that's the funny thing. The girls know, and the guys who run the beach control. There'll people bring down a cooler with just ice in it, nothing in it. And they're like, that, what are you going to do? Say, hey, listen, what are you doing with that?
Yeah.
I just want ice, in case I get hot. So in the meantime, they take the duffel bag filled with booze and they throw it over the fence and they have somebody else, grab it.
That's kind of hard to do now with the dunes.
It's hard to do with the dunes. Yeah. But, and it's hard to with the cameras. We could see it, but it's hard to do with the dunes, right? We have dunes now. It was a lot easier before. You could do that. So I've seen that. And so getting the booze on the beach is always a funny and creative thing. So then the next thing is, I'm going to tell you some of the rescues we had where when we didn't control the booze, back in the 70s and 80s and even the 90s, we didn't have the interdiction. We were more mellow, I guess. And plus, maybe there wasn't what's the word I want? I mean, we would stop you if you were really crazy. But there's times where I made rescues when I was going out where I just before I got to the victim, I could smell the booze on the water, and you could just smell it. And I mean, and more times than not,
it's a tough thing to police when it's a party town.
Yeah.
When there's how many bars are on the boardwalk in Seaside Heights?
Yeah,
6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
So people are there.
Probably more than that.
And they're just, and even if they're not bringing booze onto the beach, they're just going up and getting a drink from Spicy's or JR's or EJ's just all day, back and forth.
Yeah. I got called down to the beach. A woman unconscious. Went down there, and it was this group of people, and they weren't that young. They weren't that old. Maybe they're in their 30s. And it was a very hot day. And the woman, I got the story after a while. She was on the beach. She went up to Spicy's. That's a bar up there and restaurant. Had something to drink. Had martini or not a martini. Margarita. Maybe 1 or 2. She comes on the beach, hot. She just had 2 drinks. Wasn't intoxicated, but that's it. Out. Totally out, unconscious. Passed out, and you get stuff like that. So it is. You're right. You make a good point. It's a party beach. There's a lot of booze on the beach, but there's also a lot of drugs and or people who are drugged up before they come there. So I'll tell you another story. And you think you guys were working yet, but we were clearing up the beach at the end of the day. We start pulling the flags. And I'm up at the headquarters and I see the lifeguards. There's a commotion down there. The guys who were in the mule picking up the flags, right? And So I see them carrying, I see commotion, and they blow the run whistles, and they're moving, they're rotating down. I put the binoculars, and they got this guy they're carrying out of the water, right? And I thought it was a fight because the way they had him, like he was like, sideways. I thought maybe it was an altercation.
I remember that was either my rookie or second year when that
Right.
happened.
What do you remember about that?
Just that. Well, this kind of is a good example of what I was talking about last week, all the variables, because that was a guy that was just standing at the water line, and then the guys picking up the flags drove past, checked on him. Okay, he's good. Turned their back for 2 seconds, and he just slipped under the water.
Right.
Completely unconscious.
Right. And so what happened there, so the corollary to that is that he just passed out, and he was underneath the water.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a young guy. He was 20-something years old, 22 years, 23 years old. There was a girl who just happened to be standing next to him, pulled up his arm, was holding his arm up. So the lifeguards saw that. Now, if she wasn't there and they weren't there, he would have been dead. When I got down there, they pulled him out of the water. He was spitting up white foam. So he inhaled water. And he was breathing and had a pulse. We got him, he went to the hospital. He was intubated, and he was a heroin addict. And he shot up underneath the pier, and which was right there. He was right next to the pier. Came out, and I guess he was going to go for a swim. And I guess he OD'd. And
at least he was smart enough to swim in front of the lifeguards.
Yeah, yeah, but
what, 10, 20 minutes later,
he would have been dead.
He would have been.
We would have been gone. We would have been gone.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about that is that, as lifeguards, we sit there and go, he's a young guy, or or they're in trouble, and you might wait him out a little bit. That's one of the things that we always worry about, because nowadays it's a lot different. You got, years ago, drunks are bad enough, but you used to sit there and go, 20-year-old kid, he could swim a little bit. But now you got a 20-year-old kid who's a heroin addict, or for even that matter, not a heroin addict, but say a diabetic, who's a little hypoglycemic. So you really got to think about, the situation, the variables, like you said.
So you have people drinking on the beach. You have people under the influence of drugs on the beach. In what ways do the conditions on the beach specifically contribute to that being more dangerous?
I don't get what you mean. What do you mean by that?
Why is it bad to be hammered on the beach in particular? Why is it bad to be taking heroin and then going
sun exposure,
sitting on the beach?
Well, first of all, it's bad. It impairs you. So, why? Same thing. You could ask the question, what's bad about being drunk and driving? You're impaired. You don't react as quick. Also, I don't know if you ever been intoxicated or impaired, but try to do an activity. Listen, I'll tell you what. I didn't do it intentionally. We were all partying at a bar. It was called the Wine Cellar. It's not even there anymore. It's on the north end, and it was
nothing but good things about that place.
So there was a whole bunch of us, and we were hammered. And again,
I don't want you guys like 25-cent beers.
Yeah, well, I remember they were 50. They were big Rolling Rock, big cups, big. So this is probably somewhere in the 90s, early 90s, and we were sitting there and we were drinking and we were all blasted, and somebody came in and said, "Is there any lifeguards here?" And we're like, "Yeah." And there was what happened was there was people in the water went skinny dipping, right? It turned out to be a bunch of girls. Mm-hmm. We didn't notice, and they were drowning. And the cops came down, and I'm not making this up, and they tried taking the boats out. So like we got down there now.
The surf boats?
Yeah, because we didn't lock them up in them days, and they knew. So they had at least one boat, right? So again, I'm remembering the story, from memory. Who knows how accurate? But I know the boats were out there. So I run, and I remember the first thing I did is I realized I couldn't run, and I jumped over the fence, and it was a snow fence, and I tripped over that. Now I got sand all on my face, right? So we get going out there, and I don't know who, if the lifeguards took over the boats or whatever. All I remember is, first of all, I was like, damn, it's hard to swim. So, I was impaired. And then I remember also, and again, I definitely remember, the girls were butt ass naked, and we were trying to push them in the boat. And, like you're in the water, your head's, you're about up to your nose in water. And I got this girl's butt in my face, and I'm pushing, trying to get her in the boat. I still remember that. And actually, one of the girls got arrested because, when he got on the beach. But we saved everybody. Nobody drowned. The cops were rowing the boat sideways, this and that, because they didn't know. But so
what did she get arrested for?
disorderly. She probably was acting up
Just
after
probably
the
arguing
rescue.
or something.
Yeah. After the rescue, she was, being belligerent. So
I didn't need any help.
she was being obtuse. She was being
A little
obtuse.
obtuse.
Obtuse. Yeah, you know how that goes. So that was. So I could tell you. So you answered the question. You on the beach. Yeah, the sun drains it out of you. The water is rough. You need to have a lot of energy, and you get out of breath real quick. I from a physiology standpoint, it impairs you. You cannot breathe as well. You cannot function as well. You're incoordinated. You're spastic to a certain degree, and who knows? That's just booze. Who knows what the other drugs do?
So how do you feel about these beaches that allow drinking on their beach, that sell booze on their beach? How does that make you feel as a lifeguard?
Well, it's not. Listen, they have the right to do it. I mean, that's a private beach, and if it's done right. There was a beach up there for years in Ortley. It was the surf club. Drank on the beach all day. But here's the thing: when the lifeguards left, they closed the beach. Nobody went in the water. And I think that your risks are higher. I think that you're potentially may have more rescues. But I mean, like Bondi Beach. I mean, they people drink. I mean, if they see it, they stop it. But it increases your risk. It makes the job a lot harder. Let's put it that way. If you have people who are intoxicated. But I understand too. You said it's a party beach. People want to have a good time. Now, forget about the booze. What about all the other drugs? So it's almost impossible to know if somebody's what are you going to do? Test everybody, and forget about being impaired. What if they're autistic? I mean, you have physically, handicapped. We let everybody swim. I mean, we have the Muslims who come down there, got the full garb. They go in the water. It's hard to swim with clothes on.
I understand that's a religious thing. I don't know the
hijab,
the hijab, but their ability to swim is so hindered by
counterintuitive
by having to wear it.
Yeah. But you know what? I tell you what. Now, I haven't seen really any problems. I mean, they're respectful.
And honestly, they're very smart about it. They don't really go in too far.
No.
They don't push their boundaries. But
and they're made special. Some of that stuff is made special to go in the water.
Yeah, I think some is made like neoprene.
There's like you just said, like they respect the boundaries. There is nothing better than a beach patron that knows their limitations.
Yeah. I mean, so what I'm just saying is there's a lot of people who are impaired in a lot of different ways now. I remember, it's no secret that, in the United States, we're more morbidly obese. I mean, how many people on the beach are, I come in front of you guys and you got a 400-pound guy floating in the shipping lane. So I'm like, guys, I mean,
fat don't sink.
Fat don't sink. So I mean, we have people. So what are you going to do? Say, listen, you're 5'2" and you weigh 350 pounds. I mean, how impaired are they? So everything is relative. To answer your question, is that we get paid to do a job, whatever the town wants us to do. I mean, we'll voice our opinion, but we'll rescue and do what we need to do. But those beaches that have drinking, I think that they really need to be careful when they close up to clear everybody out of the water and don't let anybody in the water, and because they keep on drinking at night. And so surf club, I don't think maybe one person, and I don't even know if it was on a surf club property. I remember because I saw the body. He floated up on our beach, and I don't know exactly where he drowned. But it was, up there somewhere. So our north of us. But
I'll tell you what, Seaside Heights is very good at keeping people off the beach after the lifeguards leave. I mean, they have cops up and down there.
Yeah.
All night.
Yeah.
I remember I walked down one time this summer, and within like a minute, a cop on a quad was like, "You got to get off."
Yeah. Yeah. Especially how you look, I would throw you off too. You look like a retro bait. If I saw you walking, I'd get you out of there. So,
up to no good.
Up to no good. That's the thing too, because when you talk about, after hours, we had a show about these people who drowned and, about having coverage on the beach, what you want to do. You have, I just read another article because this is still going on in the town above us. And the lawyer was basically saying that one of the reasons why these towns close down is because they're saying that their insurers are saying either you have a full lifeguard crew or you don't, and you shut down. And I don't agree with that. Now I'm not a lawyer.
From the insurer's point of view, that makes all the sense in the world.
Why? Why does it make all the sense in the world?
because they don't want any possible situation where someone drowns.
Yeah, you're not being as safe as you possibly can be, so don't
Yeah.
even try. Just avoid the conflicts from happening.
Mhm.
That's the that's the premise that if you have a shortened, you can't modify the beach. In other words, you cannot
Well,
downgrade.
You can't modify the beach. Like, you
Well,
can
and
put up
also,
flags, but you don't stop people from.
I don't
being
think.
able to go
Oh,
there.
I contraire, sir.
What do you got? What do you got, Kachmar?
I will
I-
just to point out, I don't think what you made is a very good point. There are ways you can patrol a beach, you can patrol a mile of beach with 3 people and have it work the right way if everyone on the beach is on board with like following the rules. But that's a concept that's probably going to be lost on some random insurance adjuster.
Well, let me say, first of all, this concept of having a full crew or not, that's if you open your beach, let's just say you have a mile of beach, okay, a mile, make it easier. And on that beach, you have, it's off season we're talking about. We're not talking about during the full season. So you could cordon off every beach now, like we have the dunes. So you could close off streets. You could stop access, and all these beaches. So you can't. Well, no, everybody has a ramp now. So you could put a gate there and don't let anybody on. That's number one. You could limit. Now, the other thing is you could have flags and you could have patrols and you could have police and say, listen, you can't swim in this area, period. If you go in, you're going to get locked up. And, if somebody does tell a cop, go scratch, and they go in, well, we'll deal with them if they start getting in trouble, or once they get out of water, they'll get a ticket, when or arrested. So there are ways to do it. When we have double red flags, if it's a bad ocean, that means nobody swims. So we have the police and we're there and we keep everybody out. I think this notion of you could flex down, they do it in the hospital. I'll give you a good example. You have the hospital, they have a level of amount of beds. So, one of the hospitals I work at has the capacity for 500 beds. And they come up with a formula that maybe 180 beds is the best formula for them to make a profit. So what they'll do is they'll maybe start with a 150 bed capacity. And if the hospital gets a lot of emergencies, there's, an ice storm with people breaking their legs, and they'll flex up, and then they'll flex down. So why can't we do that on the beach? I mean, in California, they do the tower method, so you come in 6 o'clock in the morning and you have maybe 1 or 2 towers that have a couple guys. And then as the day goes on, you get more people, more lifeguards. And then as the day progresses, less people there, you flex down.
Do you know if the USLA is for the West Coast?
Say that again.
The USLA. Do you know if that pertains to the West Coast?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if
because I wonder what the regulation, like if the regulations are a standard for individual towns or.
Well,
see what I'm saying though? Like they're clearly doing a different thing than us, but that would be their full staff. That would be everything they typically do to guard the beach.
Yeah. So to answer that question, how it works is this: the county, like in our area, the ones who set up the protocols are the county, the public health department, the county, Ocean County, and I'm very sure it's like that in everywhere else. The state has regulations, the county. So in New Jersey, we have the county that has certain rules and regulations, but the state of New Jersey requires you to be certified by one of the certifying entities, and they recognize USLA. They recognize, I think, 2 or 3 others.
American Red Cross, probably.
No,
That's for first aid stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about for beach. And so I don't know if there's any other local chapters out there. The state of California may have their own rules. The counties may have their own rule, and then the state may also say you also have to follow the rules and regulations of USLA or some certifying entity, which sets up protocols for how you do. So whether or not
for New Jersey lifeguarding, is the one, like, stands need to be 100 yards apart, a USLA rule or Ocean County, New Jersey rule?
It's Ocean County. We have to get Rob Connors, the captain, here, but it's Ocean County. But that may be also mimicked by the Ocean County may follow the USLA. I don't know, but there is a certain size, certain ramifications. So, but here's the thing: if that's the case, then you close a beach. Why, you could close it, you fence it off, you don't let anybody on there. We've done that this summer. We've done that multiple times. We do it when there's a concert. We close. Here's a great example. We have a concert on the beach. We close half a mile of beach off, or 3/4 of a beach, or half a mile.
Yeah.
Fence it off. Nobody goes in the water. There's security. The concert, if they take their clothes off and jump in the water, they're going to get a ticket. So I mean, how does that work? Why isn't that a problem? So I think that is starting to stop. Here's the thing that I say, and I keep on going back because there's another side to this, and we're going off the tangent of drunks, but when you have a beach, when we leave in the end of the season and there's still 70-degree water and it's still beautiful weather out there, and there's rough water, we know somebody's going to drown. So we talked about this. Where's your moral responsibility? Somebody should be on that beach watching the people. And if one guard's no swimming.
Yeah, it's probably a better way of putting it.
Because what if somebody is impaired? I don't mean, talk about, say they are drunk, or let's just say they're autistic. Let's just say,
One arm.
I don't know, or a bunch of kids come down, and one kid's 17 years old, driving a car. You could drive a car. You could get on the beach, and nobody's there. Nobody's at the gate. You got some friends who are 15, 14. Maybe one of them is autistic, and they go in the water. They don't know any better, and they drown. How would you feel if you're the mayor or the council, and you could have prevented that? So how, where's the liability? I mean, most likely nobody's going to drown when we're around. If you keep that kind of protocol. So what are you going to say, Sean?
I'd be interested.
I mean, Tyler.
I'd be interested to find out how, like,
you gotta put Tyler's name up there. No, put our email. He's supposed to be running that. Listen, I'm going to take that job away from you, Sean. You're getting involved. You're not.
But I would be interested in finding out how, like, legally the problem of, like, a surfer going into the water would be dealt with, because we all know it's like this kind of like unwritten rule where, like,
they have different rules. If you bring a surfboard on the beach, you don't have to pay in at least Seaside Heights.
But that's what I mean.
What do you mean?
There are different rules, but I'm interested in finding out if there's actually like legal things put in place.
I think in the journalist report,
here's the example.
I mean, letting surfers in like in bad ocean.
So we know 90% of people with the surfboard are going to be okay. They're going to know what they're doing, right? We also can't just look at someone with a surfboard and be like, you know what? Like, you're not good enough. So say someone comes out with a surfboard, goes into the water, gets in a lot of trouble when there's no lifeguards on the beach.
Yeah, I think the main issue with this is the optics aspect of it. So the town's upset that the news article is going to say someone drowns in this town.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this article with a surfer would say surfer drowns, which is a tragedy, but sounds a lot better than.
But does say the surfer gets rescued. Say the surfer has to get rescued by, whatever your local ocean fire department, ocean rescue team. Does that surfer get a ticket for swimming without lifeguards?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Especially if that surfer is like super inexperienced.
Right. Well, what traditionally happens is that when there's no swimming, we let the surfers in because the surfers know what they're doing. And if we're there, you could pick out somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. I mean, we have it this summer. I remember in front of the pier, there was two guys. It was like August. They had no tans. You could see they didn't know what they're doing. They were, in the hole. They weren't, and we watched them. So, and we pulled them out. I said, go down there and get those guys out there. Tell them, take a break. In fact, I talked to them. I'm like, hey, I'm like, I think they were intoxicated. They had no idea what they're talking. I said, how long have you been surfing? He goes, it was our first time. I go, today's not the day to be your first time.
I had this girl come down way, way late in the season this summer. She comes down, brand new wetsuit, brand new, honestly, badass surfboard, hat on her head, about to paddle out, and not a lick of wax on the board.
Yeah,
and I just watched her on the sandbar, just paddling for like an hour, didn't get anywhere.
Yeah. See, my thing about
falling off the board.
Well, my thing about surfers is that they probably rescue more people than we do sometimes. I mean,
for sure.
And I would let them in the water no matter what. I mean, to me, like we do it in our beach. I mean, when we have knee deep or ankle deep swimming, it's really a bad day. Let the swimmers go all over. They're on the outside. As long as they don't, start getting, when the tide gets, changes and people start going out a little bit more, and they start getting close to the surfers, or the surfers get close to them, we tell them to go to the surf beach. But no, and as far as liability, it's the same thing. If we're not there, and is it swim at your own risk? I mean, you can carve out surf at your own risk. I think that I don't remember. I only know one surfer who drowned, and this was in Lavalette. And I remember he had, and supposedly had a seizure on the board.
Wow.
I mean, a lot of these surfers have wetsuits, they got a board there. So it's, I mean, I don't remember, but I remember a lot of people drowning who are not surfers. So, you gotta, that's the whole point. You can't have one fits all. You have to titrate these things.
Sean broke a board today.
No, my leash broke today.
Oh, well, yeah. But
How was it? How's the surf?
It was messy, but it was good. It was 4 to 6 foot. When my board broke, I got a little nervous, but or my leash.
Yeah,
you're the best swimmer on the beach patrol.
Yeah,
Not right then.
not then. Yeah.
Not then.
Now, so getting back to this impaired thing, because this is our topic today, and we're coming up to an hour. The beaches that allow it, I think that they have to monitor it. And the other thing, there's other things too. You let people drink on the beach. Do you let them have bottles? And then they leave the bottles in the sand. They get crushed, they get broke, and then people cut their legs and their feet. And so I think. I don't, for us on our beach, we have our beach is really, even though we're not in a city, we have an inner city beach. On a weekend, the vast majority of our people come from the cities.
Well, I mean, it's the easiest place to get to. You get right off the Parkway, and it's a straight shot.
Right.
Hamilton Avenue. Seaside Heights, South Lifeguard headquarters. Welcome.
Right. And we get thousands and thousands of people on the beach. And see, I watched the Bondi Beach, and you look at, they have set of lifeguards, and they have volunteer, they got jet skis. I mean, they got huge volume, and they let them swim. We would have, if we let people just go and swim and just wait to the rescue, we would have to double our beach patrol, easily double it. And if we just let go on booze, I can tell you right now, we'll be making one rescue after the other, and some towns do that. So it's another thing. It's your philosophy. But we try to control the booze. We try to really read the surf and try to. I try to let people swim when they want to swim, but there's other times where we have to pull the plug. But again, remember, our beach is unique to a lot of different places. But to answer your question, yeah, the laws are different, and it's also philosophy. You could have, who's to say, I'll ask you this, Sean, who's to say how far do you let people out? How tight do you keep your water? Do you really let people, let them swim? What would you say about that? Because that's not a law. That's just lifeguarding. Some beaches, they have 700 rescues. You got to figure they're letting people go.
I like to let people swim, but sometimes just making or letting a rescue happen, and just to control people, when people see the danger, that it's a legitimate issue, it really can just put in all their minds that this is the ocean. This isn't
right.
That's a really good point you just made. Not this most recent 4th of July, but the one before that, I was sitting on Blaine Avenue, and it was like a madhouse that day. 4th of July in Seaside Heights is like the craziest thing you'll ever see. I remember getting off the stand to walk up on my break, and just being in the middle of the umbrellas and not being able to, I couldn't see headquarters. I couldn't see any lifeguard stands. It was like just the crowd,
thousands,
just
tens of
closing
thousands.
in on you.
We get tens of that. Yeah, we get a lot.
And on days like that, and I'm on Blaine Avenue, which is right next to Casino Pier, which is a tough beach to work. On days like that, sometimes you do have to call a rescue, maybe when you're not necessarily in a situation where you have to go, just to get a handle on things. Just like Sean said, to show everybody that the stakes are real. So on this 4th of July, there's just this guy bouncing on the back of the sandbar that would have been fine, would have made it in. But I look at my partner, and I'm just like, we're going to go right now to prove a point. And we got the guy in for the rest of the day. Everybody was under control. He was pissed at me, though. That guy was not happy.
Yeah. They never are.
He was pretty messed up, though. His eyes were completely bloodshot.
Yeah. So, the thing is, you don't want to, I was watching, again, Bondi. I love that show. And they sometimes they go when the people start yelling, calling for help. We tend not to do that. We try to get there see before that happens. When we see somebody going backwards in a run, even though they're not in trouble, we're probably going to go for them. If they're going backwards, or because we have a highly dense populated beach, and we don't have
the time to wait things out like that.
no. And I think there's, like I said, everybody does it differently. So to ask your question again, that you could. So what do you there's laws, and then there's procedures. There's what tolerance you have. I know, again, different towns, they let things go. I think South beaches may be more lenient as opposed to other beaches. I think, I mean, if you have a beach that's $10 million houses on the water on the beach, your clientele is going to probably be a little bit different, and as opposed to when you have a beach that's inner city, and a lot of people don't work out, they don't swim, maybe the first time they've seen the ocean, because they're they're coming to New York, they're from Kansas, they may be visiting, and they
or a small motel beach town.
Yeah. So it's a whole different scenario. So, but the drinking, I'm happy that we control it. We have less fights on the beach, and we have less rowdy people. But but who knows what's going to go in the future? I mean, because right now in New Jersey, with the marijuana law, people may not realize this, but in last January, so it'll be a year this January, they passed the law. It was on the ballot whether or not to legalize marijuana. So they said yes, recreationally. But what they did, though, on that, they piggybacked a bill where that if you're underage drinking or smoking pot or drinking booze, that the police were not able to tell your parents about it, and also not to lock you up.
That makes zero sense to me.
Yeah. In fact, the police, how I read it, and again, I might be wrong, somebody could call me up and tell me, but like the cops, if they did contact the parents, the cops would get charged, get indicted or whatever.
I don't even understand the opposite thought process of that, of why should an officer not be able to tell people?
What is that other than giving kids a free pass to go smoke and drink?
Yeah, or arrest them. Like, was that the point? They want they want cops to arrest kids?
No, they didn't. No. The law, the rule was not to tell the parents and not to arrest them.
So they can't
just let it go.
Let it go. Not only let it go, but not to arrest them, but not against the law, underage drinking and underage smoking, but not even to contact their parents. So this was a law.
But like, for clarity's sake, so
I'll tell you why after you ask me the question, but go ahead.
So we have cops not being allowed to like enforce this, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean that there literally is no law anymore about underage drinking?
Let me tell you why. So what happened was, and I think there was good intentions here. I think they did this more for the inner city, feeling that with this defund the police and prejudice and all of that. So I think they felt that the inner city kids were being targeted maybe.
I see that. I see that side.
So I think it came down from that. I don't think they realized that the ramifications in other beaches, because
I still don't see it. I mean, you can't arrest the kids for this, I get, but not being able to tell their parents to have some sort of repercussion.
There has to be some sort of intervention.
Yeah.
If a kid's like getting in trouble, like, or causing trouble. And let me smoking weed and drinking when you're 17 or 18 is going to cause trouble, but they're usually like
right. So
in the same basket.
So let me tell you. So there's a similar situation in this has happened all around the country. So there's a similar situation in Virginia. So I don't know if you heard the case. So in Virginia, there was a lot of coaches and everybody kind of said, listen, if you got two kids, at a table eating in high school kids, and one kid throws a French fry at the other kid in the face, or, it used to have to be, you have to call the cops, you have to let the parents know. And, it got to be crazy. So a lot of people said, listen, they're kids, let's mellow it down. Let's try to take care of it in the school. If it's if a little bit, shuffle, push, whatever, but if it was really an assault or something really bad, you had to let the parents and the cops know. But that got manifested into where a sexual assault was not, cops weren't called in. And so a kid went into the girl's bathroom dressed up as a girl, raped her. they didn't tell the parents, they didn't tell the cops, and then I guess she said something, and then the kid went somewhere else, and so it was a good intention, but it was the law. They're going to there's a what do you call it? A governor's race right now, and there's people who want to rescind that law. So it probably came from a good idea, but in New Jersey, it came out where you kids, you couldn't say anything. So then they reversed it and said the cops can call parents, but still, I don't think they were able to arrest them. So now let me ask you this: so if they pass a law where cops cannot arrest a kid for underage drinking, so it's against the law to drink alcohol or smoke pot underage. Okay, so you give them a ticket. It's hard because you got to get their parents. They're underage. So what has happened? Nothing. You let them go. So that's, if you notice this summer, the cops didn't want to do anything because they didn't know where to go. They didn't, if you can't arrest or give a ticket for a kid underage drinking, what about an adult who you're on our beach, and our beach we have a rule, no drinking on a beach. How are we going to give you a ticket?
Yeah.
So this was a limbo, and I talked to all the cops this year. This was a very tough, this is the same, this is a liberal agenda. I don't want to get into politics, but I think there's good-hearted people, but we got to pay the price and deal with it. Now, and when I see a bunch of kids on the beach and I go down and they're stinking drunk, they got the beer bottles, and I ask them, they're 15 years old, they're 16 years old, 17, and I'm going to let them get in the car and get killed on the parkway. Yeah. Where's
you're right.
What do we do? I mean, what do you do with them?
It doesn't seem thought out at all.
Here's my thing.
It was thought out, but it was for the inner city kids. Good.
I don't think it's entirely a bad idea to not want to arrest kids for stuff like that, because they are young and they're still figuring out life, and they're gonna keep making mistakes. And I don't think, mounting thousands of dollars of legal fees on them and their families is the right way to deal with it. But I do think like some sort of intervention,
even like a mark on their record saying, we caught you doing this already.
Yeah,
if you get or 3 or 2 even, we're gonna give you something.
Or like, all right, we caught you doing this, like do something. Like
there's no repercussion for this.
I'm not a politician.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I'm not.
Right.
I don't make policy.
So yeah, that was a problem. And so from a lifeguard standpoint, drinking on the beach, we try to curtail it, especially young kids who are drinking. That's been an issue all the years I've been working there. Alcohol on the beach, and people do get fired up, but it's allowed in other places. So I don't know where the laws are going to go, but even in our beach, you're not allowed to smoke cigarettes. That's a state law. The state of New Jersey cannot smoke on beaches.
Love that law.
Yeah.
So you can't smoke. What do we, I mean, what am I, so every once in a while, we get it. But people come up to me and say, oh, that lady over there is smoking. So I go there and tell her, stop smoking. Are we going to give you a ticket and lock you up? I mean, it's but here's the thing. You can't call the cops, or the cops can't arrest a kid underage for smoking pot. But what if he's smoking a cigarette on our beach?
Yeah.
He'd get a ticket. Now, if you look at the law, the state law, I read it, but to me, it sounds like tobacco products, period. So if you look at it really, the state of New Jersey is saying you can't smoke cigarettes, underage or age, because you have to be 21 to smoke, right? Cigarettes.
It is 21 now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can smoke pot and drink alcohol underage. But
strange.
Well, this is what happens. So that's where we are right now. That one
needs to be a little more ironed out.
You think so? So anyway, so our topic, we've been going for like an hour now. So anything you guys want to put more about, alcohol and what you think? You want to, some any final thoughts on it?
If you're gonna,
what's your what would you recommend? If people out there who listen who are maybe not lifeguard, what would you say to people
if you're gonna be drinking and spend your day on the beach? That's totally fine. Just be responsible. Don't get blacked out and try to go swimming, and drink a glass of water for every alcoholic beverage. You should be all right.
What do you think, Sean? Any comments?
If lifeguards are off duty, don't go swimming. And if they are, listen to their podcast, Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Kachmar.
Right. I don't know if it was this summer or last summer.
Shameless plug, dude. I love it.
I know. We had put the email up there.
Follow our Instagram page too.
I just talk about how I would end this and say, we had there was this bunch of people came on the beach. You could see it, young kids. In June, we get a lot of prom kids. That the proms up North Jersey, they all come down. So we have hundreds and hundreds, thousands of kids on the beach. And I saw this group come down towards the afternoon, and they were fired up. And you could just tell they
all
were
full
fired.
of piss and vinegar.
Yeah, they were like, hey, they're all drunk and everything. And like, I think some were like football players. They were friggin' huge, and they're, banging each other around, hitting everything. And you know what though? It was really nice. They came up to me, and the one guy was like, so he folded his hands. So he goes, so what's the situation? I go, the situation is you're going to go in the water up to your knees or your waist, and that's it. And I said, oh, if not, you're going to be bounced out of here. And, they went in, they had a great time. Ocean wasn't bad that day either, and they listened, and they were cool, and they had the greatest time, and so listen to the lifeguards. If you come down, and again, I prefer you not to drink or be impaired, but if you are, and you why don't you talk to the lifeguards? Because we'll tell you, hey, listen, it's not a good day to go in the water like that. So
always talk to the lifeguards.
Yeah, always talk to lifeguards. So our show, we're doing this every Tuesday. We're gonna sign off now. It's over an hour. Sean, just can you go over for our podcast people? How can they get a hold of us?
You could reach us on our email, Dr. Kachmar at iCloud.com, DrKachmar at iCloud.com. And you can follow us on Instagram at IG.association.
Right.
LG.association.
Right. We're also on Facebook, Lifeguards Off Duty.
Facebook.
We're on Facebook. We're on Twitch.
And
Twitter.
1977 and Twitter.
And Twitter. So look for us. It's Lifeguards Off Duty. We also have a medical show. It's scrubbing up, but this is the one. Send us an email. Ask if you want to come on the show. We're going to have call-ins. We're going to have a phone number that we're going to put up. We're going to have a dedicated phone, so you guys could call in, and we could actually listen to you on the phone. And so that'll be good. And you could call us, and you could ask us questions and things of that nature. So we're going to sign off, everyone. Thank you for listening. And if you have any questions or concerns, just give us a shout, and then watch us next week. All right.
One love, y'all.
Well, everyone have a great time. And bye.
Stay out and
stay alive. Stay out and stay alive. Stay